Are Mumford and Sons over? That's the question to ask today. We take a look at the Billboard charts here, and I find a couple of things interesting about what's going on in the world of music. And although our focus on this is going to be about Mumford and Sons, I do also find it interesting what Mariah Carey has done as of late. There's an interesting little nugget. If you look at the charts as much as I obsess over them, you look at what's happening with Mariah Carey, and you're like, it's kind of strange. Let's dive in. Mumford and Sons come out with their new LP, Delta. It comes out number one on the Billboard charts. Should be an exciting time. Should be happy for everybody. It got slammed by critics. And when you look at the sales of the record, I believe it was one of their, let me see here, sold 230,000 copies in its first week of release. It is their third consecutive number one album. Babel, Wilder Mind, and this one would be three in a row for them. Their debut, Sigh No More, peaked at number two, and I believe that was after some time because Mumford and Sons kind of came out of nowhere with Sigh No More. That one caught on, and I feel like the success and how wonderful that album was really helped propel them. And they followed it up with Babel, really, really good there again. So you have like two strong outings, really kind of put this band into everybody's consciousness. And Wilder Mind did not get great reviews. The Johannesburg EP was okay. And now this one is getting slammed. Delta enjoyed 2018's second best-selling week for a rock album behind the Dave Matthews Band, Come Tomorrow. They nearly matched the opening week of sales for Wilder Mind 3 years ago, as that album sold 249,000 copies in its first week of release. Both totals were down considerably from the 600,000 opening week sales of Babel in 2012. So 600,000 for their sophomore effort. 249 for album number 3, and album number 4 clocks in at 230. So much like the rest of the industry, we're seeing a steady decline in sales for Mumford and Sons. Which begs the question, like, is this like, when I saw the trajectory of Mumford, I thought, boy, this is going to be one of those big bands that's going to be around for a really long time. And their album sales back that up, and their tours and the arenas and things that they're selling out, these huge venues, stadiums in some cases, back that up, headlining music festivals. I wonder if they have the staying power to continue that sort of stature of the band, because we've seen a lot of acts kind of fall off. Even the Dave Matthews Band, who I love more than anything, mentioned in this article, went from doing 3 nights at Giant Stadium to doing, one night at the PNC Bank Arts Center and one night at Jones Beach. That's considerably a lot less tickets to be sold during a tour than what they used to do. Every band sort of slides off of their heyday a little bit. The difference for Dave Matthews Band, they were a lot farther along. Rolling Stones had a big tour out last time they were around. They just announced a 13 stadium tour. That used to be like a 30 stadium tour. You know what I mean? Everybody slides down a bit. But, those two bands, Dave Matthews, Rolling Stones, been around considerably longer than Mumford. They maintained that stature and status for a really long time before, they've had their slide. Mumford's slide, I feel like, might be starting a little bit sooner than usual. It doesn't help that they have awful reviews for their record. Awful reviews. The Rolling Stone review, by the way, and I say this all the time, don't read the review. I read the reviews because I feel like I read a lot of garbage that I don't pass along to you, because I feel like I want to give you the best of what the program, of our little lens of the world. I would never read a review if I didn't have to. You know what I mean? Like, just dumb. Dumb. And this is coming from somebody who literally gets paid to give you an opinion every single day. Opinions on music, dumb. So very dumb. Listen to this. This is here's how the review starts in Rolling Stone magazine. Who wrote this? John Dolan, who doesn't even have the common decency to have an H in his name. Mumford and Sons became the most unlikely success stories of the 21st century thanks to a sound that combined the ancient authenticity of banjo hammering folk music and the polished anthemic pump of modern rock, like a horse and buggy designed in a Tesla factory. Bit much, isn't it? But the Mums weren't satisfied to spend life staging hoedowns in sold-out hockey arenas, so they ditched acoustic instruments and plugged in for their third LP, 2015's Wilder Mind, an indie rock steeped affair. Record blah 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 blah. Commercial. Where was the line that I absolutely hated? Let me get back to it. Oh, here we go. This is my favorite. The problem with Delta is that it feels overwhelmed by its ambitions. Now, I ask you, when the hell in your lifetime did you put on a record, listen to it, and sit there and go, you know what? This record kind of feels overwhelmed by its own ambitions. When did that ever happen? Because I'll tell you what, never happened when I was in the room. Because if somebody turned to me and said that to me, literally, I would smack them with whatever was in my hand. I would throw food in their face, stomp on their toes. I would do just about anything to get back at them for having to sit through the comment of, this record feels overwhelmed by its ambitions. Really, John, who told you that? Did the record whisper that to you? Because if it did, I feel like we need to get you to somebody. Seek some help. I was talking with the record, and it seems like it has great ambitions. And then after listening to it, I felt like perhaps the record had overwhelmed itself with those said ambitions. I just don't understand record reviewers. I will never, ever understand them. I won't, because they become so obsessed with their own review and rather just tell you what the record is. By the way, and I feel like anybody who goes into a record review with preconceived notions, you've already failed me. You've already failed. If you go in going, I'd like to hear this, this, and this, and this, then you've failed. You got to go in with a complete open mind. I do, however, think that Mumford and Sons is totally set out to shed their old fans because they have gone in a completely different direction on this album. That's very true. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. I applaud Mumford for trying to do something different. It's what they did in the first place. Now they'll get bad reviews. Sales are obviously down here. And they might fall off that top perch of being one of the big touring bands. And, they might lose their stature. But I applaud them wholeheartedly. Good for you. Try something new. What are you going to do? Replicate the first thing over again? How sick and tired is that going to be? Everybody claims they want new stuff, but then they get mad when they get new stuff. And then what happens eventually after a while, you're like, oh, they're doing the same old thing again. Well, yeah, because when they did new stuff, you said it was overwhelmed by its own ambitions. Put an H in your name and then we can talk. But as a little side note for this, as I'm looking at the charts here, Delta was number 1. Michael Bublé's Love came in at number 2, which is a little surprising for me because he said that he was going to retire and did this whole thing. And plus it's Christmas time. Michael Bublé is going to be everywhere now with the Christmas music. I just assumed that he would do better than this, but Michael Bublé couldn't beat out Mumford and Sons. In fact, they doubled up on him. The Greatest Showman reimagined soundtrack hit number 3. So that's kind of amazing just to show you the star power of that film. That not only did the soundtrack do well, but the reimagined soundtrack is at number 3 this week. And Mariah Carey came in at number 5 with her latest album, Caution. Guess how many albums Mariah sold? 51,000. 51,000 copies sold this past week. I consumed more calories on Thanksgiving than she sold albums on this latest thing. That is astounding. You're talking about one of the greatest pop stars of our time. One of the greatest, one of the highest selling pop stars ever. 51,000. That's crazy. That is crazy. It is the lowest selling record for Mariah Carey since Glitter came out. And do you know when that came out? September 11th, 2001. Okay, the last time she had a sales week this bad, our country was facing the worst terrorist attack ever. That's crazy to think. By the way, A Star Is Born hopped in just in front of her at number 4. A Star Is Born soundtrack, which continues to get rave reviews, as it should. There's a lot of great musicians that contributed to the music of that film. Still haven't seen it, though. That's your EHM Daily Music Note. We'll leave it there. Your thoughts on this, of course, on social, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can get to all that stuff from WEHM.com.